Hello everyone, Adam here, and today I'll be talking about the wonderful 101 Remastered from Platinum Games. As always, this will be a short impressions video. Please click the link below for the full written review. In addition, I never played the original game, so this impression will be from the perspective of someone new to the series. The Wonderful 101 is one of the least known titles from Platinum Games, mostly due to the fact it debuted on the Wii U as an exclusive title. Now, after a massively successful Kickstarter campaign, which I backed, so that's how I got an early copy of the game, it has been re-released on modern systems such as PC, PS4, and Switch. And it's good, but it also has to be one of my least favorite games from Platinum Games, which I often consider one of the best game developers in video games. The game takes place during the Third War against Earth, and an alien terrorist organization called Girthjerk Federation has invaded Earth. Humanity's greatest defense force, the Wonderful Ones, are deployed to defend Earth against the hostile alien force. These heroes are part of the Sentinels, Planetary Secret Service, an organization created by the United Nations, and can use an ability called Unite Morph to create weapons, structures, and even control enemies by literally throwing people at the situation. The leader of these heroes is Wonder Red, and eventually he is joined by other heroes who have specific color and weapon specializations such as blue, green, pink, and so on. These heroes serve as the game's primary heroes, with the player able to recruit everyone from soldiers to civilians into your army to aid in repelling the alien force. You can also take control of these various characters, and they have their own statistics, so that is a very cool feature. The game's primary gameplay mechanic is drawing patterns to construct weapons and tools. It's like the Okami brush system, only much harder. Unlike Okami, which used the brush technique in combination with standard combat, here it is essential to everything. You start off with the basic patterns such as a circle to make a gauntlet and a straight line for a sword. Eventually, you gain access to new patterns that overlap one another, and that's where the game's core mechanic starts to become an annoyance. The game does its best to recognize certain patterns, and you'll learn shortcuts to make the system better and quicker, but the game's misreading of patterns becomes a common issue. Anyone who's played a Platinum Games title knows that these games require you to be quick and precise, and that's the same here. The player has to go through a series of impressive enemies and bosses that require accurate inputs to avoid damage and get the best possible rating. But when the game constantly mistakes one pattern for another, this can become incredibly problematic, especially when you're trying to make the more powerful variants of certain weapons that require larger versions of set patterns, and the game doesn't recognize the pattern or thinks it's something else. The system is made increasingly harder thanks to the terrible camera. The camera can sometimes just be too close that you cannot correctly draw what is needed, and sometimes it can be so far that it makes platforming much harder than it has to be. The final major problem is the game's lack of explanation. This game has a very steep learning curve, and much of the game's most critical information such as parrying, dodging, and what defensive tactic is needed is learned through trial and error. You need to purchase dodging and parrying, which is strange seeing how paramount these tactics are. They're cheap and you can afford them easily within seconds of playing the game, but why weren't they just given to the player from the start? There are other tactics and upgrades you can purchase which definitely make the game easier and provide the player with customization elements, but parrying and dodging, these are something that have always been critical elements within Platinum game titles like Metal Gear Revengeance and Astral Chain, so why do you have to purchase it here? I did learn from watching other reviews of the Wii U title that you did have to purchase them, and that was a critical factor of people having a negative experience with the game. But with the Remastered edition, why didn't they just give it to the player? It just seems like an oversight. I know I've been talking a lot about the game's negatives, but these are major problems that make the experience harder, not through challenge, but through the systems that the game implements. I would have loved the option to link a hotkey to a specific weapon or tool so it would make it easier to craft the various designs, especially during the later half of the game where designs overlap one another. But there is no set option. I guess it would have sacrificed the creative vision that Platinum Games had for this title, but perhaps a modder will add it to the PC version. Either way, it just becomes incredibly infuriating when you're trying to create specific weapons and tools that are necessary in order to defeat some of the enemies, and it constantly mistakes one pattern for the next. While the Wonderful 101 can be frustrating, it starts to gain a lot of traction once you understand the game's systems. The colorful world, strong character designs, and excellent cinematic boss encounters made getting through each stage that more wonderful. I wanted to see what was next and was willing to push through the camera and pattern drawing problems just to see what was available in the next stage. The series has a lot of potential, but Platinum Games definitely needs to work on some of these hurdles in order for it to reach greatness. So that's the video. What did you think about the Wonderful 101 if you played the original? Are you planning to pick up the remastered edition? I do recommend it, but remember, you do need to dedicate yourself to learning these very strict mechanics, and I recommend that you watch a few tutorials and tips for videos before you fully engage into the game. So that's the video. Leave a like, a comment, check out the full written review, and I'll see you all next time. Stay awesome, everyone.
What? Dude, that is so not happening.